Welcome back. This is the Know program, Knowing All That Is, video 1 of 2. Like always, we go and have a look at the self-health journey steps, and you can see we're moving nicely through. We're almost halfway, and we're going to be discussing feeling whole again, resolving the ego-generated belief of being separate and alone. We're going to be talking about all that is and knowing all that is. We're going to be discussing consciousness and awareness and infinity, the primary drive and the experiencing problem, creating levels by folding dimensions of being. Quantum physics shows us that there is no actual matter, only energy, which energy behaves like a wave until consciousness collapses it to behave like a particle, or collapses the energy wave and it behaves like a particle, and only very momentarily. And this energetic state of everything that exists is so across multiple dimensions simultaneously. It is important to understand that what we are experiencing in the physical world is only a fraction of what is actually going on at all times. Imagine somebody trying to watch a sports match through a little crack in a fence, and the game is going on, and you only can see what you're able to see through that little crack in the fence. Your idea of the game is going to be very distorted, and you're going to really not understand much about what's going on. What we see in the physical world is really only a crack portion, and the rest is beyond our ability to pick up with our physical senses. You just keep that in mind and keep an open mind as we go through some of this information. Right, human personalities, and we can call them egos, are not constructed to and cannot understand infinity or eternity in great detail. It hasn't got a point of reference in how it's been constructed, so it cannot really grasp infinity or eternity. That means that as long as an individual continues to identify with the ego as the self, it will be impossible to progress to a full understanding of the eternal all that is outside of the constructed time and space reality, the physical reality that we all live in as the egos that we are during our awake experience. So keep that in mind, that the ego and the mind and the emotional selves, they have quite a lot of limitation. And this now also translates into how our daily interaction with the perception of a higher and more powerful entity that we call God is then constructed by this ego and the mind and perceived as firstly a separate entity, and perceives the God or God as having an ego or human-like appearance and even human-like behavior as far as punishment and as far as being in need of certain rewards and appreciation and so on. So the ego constructs this entire idea around God as far as the way it appears and as far as it being separate and as far as it's the way that it should behave or the way that it's perceived to behave. Consciousness and awareness. Just know this. Eternal and infinite consciousness is very different from the human awake conscious awareness that we experience daily as individuals, just like a little drop of water and the whole of all of the oceans of the earth. They're made of the same stuff, but they're very different. And for this reason, we will refer to the individual's awake conscious awareness in the self-health journey as just awareness or individual awareness or awake awareness. And then infinite awareness, which comprises everything and which not only created the universe, but always exists outside of time and space, shall then be referred here as infinite awareness or all that is. So those terms are interchangeable. Infinite awareness and all that is in the self-health journey. Now, as you read different texts and you listen to different people, you might hear them referring to consciousness and talk about infinite consciousness, interchangeable with infinite awareness. The problem with that is that consciousness is sometimes used and often used to refer to individual consciousness. So I'm trying to avoid having confusion. So if I'm talking about infinite awareness or all that is, we're talking about eternal and infinite consciousness or infinite awareness. And if we're talking about individual conscious awareness, in other words, awake awareness, where you are aware of yourself and aware of your experience, that is now what we would call just individual's awareness. Now, the characteristics of this infinite awareness or all that is, firstly, it's pure and complete consciousness. It is not lacking in any dimensions of being, and we'll talk about the dimensions of being in due course, but it has and encompasses all the dimensions of being, and it is infinitely aware, and it is now pure and complete consciousness. It doesn't lack anything, but it also doesn't have, because of the fact that it's eternal and it's infinite and it's outside of time and space, it doesn't have duality. And it also doesn't have energy, because energy is a flow of information from one pole to another. So there are no poles, there are no differences, there's no duality. It's impossible to see any objects, to have any objects, to have any entities, to have any abstract concepts from the perspective of that there is no differentiation. There is no time, and there is just infinite space, infinite time from the perspective of an ego trying to understand all that is. So there's no duality, there's no energy flow. It's unable to experience itself. All that is unable to experience itself because of its perfection, its infinity and eternity. So it's unable to experience itself until it subtracts from itself. And it has a primary drive. That primary drive is to experience continually. And the only thing it can experience is itself, since there isn't anything else outside of all that is. However, the primary drive problem is resolved by self-fractioning. And that is achieved not by removing permanently a portion of itself, because where would it put it? If it removes a portion of itself, where would it go? It can't, but it can hide. It can hide, and it can fold away dimensions of itself. The analogy there would be, imagine that you have infinite amounts of money, but you want to experience how it feels to work hard or to strive for, making money through your hard work and having a feeling of achievement as you achieve the work and the money. But you've got infinite amounts of money. So what you could do is you could take all of that money, put it away in a safe or lock it in a bank account away from your daily perception. And now you perceive yourself as having little or no money. And now you could go ahead and work hard for the money, even though you've still got all of the infinite amount of money locked away. And a portion of you would have to now be somehow forget that this money has been hidden. Otherwise, it doesn't work. The illusion would only work if that portion of you that's going to work hard has now hidden away from itself the idea that it's got infinite amounts of money. So that is an example of how the folding of dimensions of being allows for experiencing and allows for duality and allows for time and for space to be created. So we'll go into that into more detail as we move through the next few workshops, but just know that the primary drive, which is to experience itself continually, can only be resolved by self-fractioning or removing portions of itself, but not truly removing, just hiding or folding away dimensions of being, which then creates these effects of lack or necessity to go and get something because you lack something, and that provides for the duality, for the poles, and for the experience that is possible. And then remember that your daily routine should be consisting of, including or involving some form of momentum. Your mission is to accept where you are, take responsibility for your life, and make progress every day. You also need to know details on how all that is resolves the primary drive by hiding parts of itself away. And we'll get into those details next, in the next video. And then what is the nature of energy? That is important to understand. And with that said, let's keep going.